think all these diets, though they're good in the beginning, over a long time, I think they're very damaging. And diets are what they are. I mean, what is a diet? Diet is a short term to get your body to respond. When you look at all these success stories, you know what I mean, whatever, it's Biggest Loser, whatever. You take these people and they put them in a perfect environment. You're denying foods. Of course they're going to lose weight. What happens a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now? That's why fad diets don't work, because there's no patience. People want an immediate response, and it doesn't work that way.
All these diets seem to work. Many people do lose weight initially. But the problem long term, I have not seen a lot of people be successful on these meal plans or these diets. And the reason why I won keto, I mean, okay, the first time you decide to have an adult beverage, or the first time you decide to have a little bite of maybe that potato or that pasta your friend is having, or it's somebody's birthday and you just can't stand it, or you go to Mexican food and you think you could just have the fajitas, but people are doing margaritas and there's chips and salsa. I mean, that is pretty hard, and many people are failing at that diet just because of that. It's really hard long term, and who wants to live like that? I mean, that's a hard way to live the rest of your life. And then every day I hear about intermittent fasting, but long term, to be doing intermittent fasting, to me, it's just slowing down your metabolism. By not eating, you're not fueling your body, so now your metabolism's shutting down, and now what kind of weight are you losing? Intermittent fasting is actually setting you up to losing lean muscle mass, which is more metabolically active than the fat in the water. And when people start getting hungry, the first 2 weeks is probably okay, but once you get hungry, you just all of a sudden set a whole bunch of demons loose, where now you're having cravings, and now you can't even sleep at night without thinking that you need some kind of food. And that in itself is A, not healthy, but B, it's setting you up for failure.
Yeah, one thing I should mention that's highly inflammatory is ketogenic diets and very low carb diets. What happens when you eat no carbs, and remember we hear the word ketoacidosis, right? The human bloodstream can never become acidic. It cannot, or you die. So you have what's called the pH-based balance of the blood. If it gets too acidic, you die. If it gets too alkaline, you die. So the body has to keep the pH-based balance within its normal parameter. Let's just call it a 7. So when you're eating no carbs, what happens is you become more acidic. You start moving into ketoacidosis, and just the word acidosis tells you it's acidic. As the body becomes acidic, the bloodstream cannot let that happen. So what it does, it attempts to buffer the blood by drawing calcium ions out of the bone. And as you're losing bone, you're going to become more osteoporotic later in life. And so what happens under these cases of inflammation is you cause the future risk of more disease, hardening of the arteries, right, higher blood pressure, and again, loss of bone.
I think what you have going back for many years is what I call fitness fad fraud. A lot of things that would promise you everything and maybe deliver very little. A better place for me to go is to let you know that I grew up with a mom that was a founding member of Overeaters Anonymous. My mom's in her 80s now, but she struggled with weight control issues from the time she was basically a child. And so that was quite a strain, because being a boy of 8, 10, 11, 12, back then they didn't even use the word obese, but my mom was definitely obese. And people could be a little insensitive then and even now. And so we go to eat somewhere, for example, and someone might say something that wasn't very kind. And people like my mom would do one of two things. They would deaf ear it, like they didn't hear it when they obviously heard it, or they would chuckle, oh, it's funny. But the last thing it was funny. And so she'd hold it in, and then when we get home, though, it sat in her heart where the floodgates of emotion would be rather intense. My mom would do things, she'd be afraid to handle fatty meat, so she'd wear rubber gloves, worried that the fat would get into her skin. She would do diets that were 300, 400, 500 calories a day. So I witnessed her starving herself. She'd go to a doctor and he'd prescribe diet pills that were definitely not healthy for my mom. Just like most people, they did like my mom. They inherently believe that calories are bad, an appetite's bad, so what are they going to do? They're going to starve themselves, or they're going to cut out entire categories of food in an effort to try to lose weight. And typically, for most of those people, there's such a strong rebound. They don't understand the physiological aspects of what that's doing to their bodies, and in most cases, to their minds too.
I've been around since the 70s, and I've seen all the gadgets out there. And you know what? They made billions of dollars at selling all these crazy gizmos, and people bought it. Once again, it goes back to what I said before. They're looking for the quick fix, okay? They got the this, the add that, all this nonsense, okay? It's sad that the American public believes into it and they buy into that nonsense. The bottom line is, can you sustain that diet your whole entire life? Some people can, most people can't.
You know, I don't think too many people talk about the dangers of super rapid weight loss. What you discover if you look at the research is you see a lot of very obese people end up losing their gallbladder. And what happens is there's such an inundation of fat cells, or not fat cells, the fat going through the system that it literally destroys the gallbladder.
If you're losing fat so quick, you don't want to keep losing fat, you're actually damaging what your goal is, what your physique is. You're gonna lose your muscle. You're gonna probably dehydrate yourself. You're gonna sap all your energy. You're gonna definitely take the water out of your body.
To burn a pound of fat, you have to burn 3,500 calories. So think about that. People that are trying to lose, let's say 10 pounds of fat a week, how are they gonna do that? 3,500 times 10, 35,000 calories. How are they gonna do that in 7 days? It's just not gonna happen. So realistically, people need to realize 3,500 calories, a pound a week, that's about 500 calorie deficit a day. So when you really do the math to it, you can understand that working harder is really not gonna benefit you more. And thinking about it, like anorexics. Anorexics are, everyone looks at them, they look like a skeleton. And they say, oh my gosh, they're so thin. But when you do the body comp on someone that's anorexic, really they have 50% fat. I mean, that's almost obese. And the reason why is because, again, their body will only get rid of some fat, and then what goes after that is all lean muscle tissue. They start burning muscle and holding fat. And that would be a terrible way to try to lose weight.